Have you ever thought, is this just me when struggling to stay organized, start tasks, or manage time? For those of us over 50, these challenges might not be just aging. They could be ADHD hiding in plain sight for decades. I'm Jami Shapiro, host of Grandma Has ADHD, and I'm building a community where your experiences matter. Whether you're diagnosed, questioning, or simply curious, you're not alone. Our Facebook group is filled with vibrant, understanding people over 50 who share their stories, strategies, and yes, even their struggles, with plenty of laughter along the way. Ready to find your people? Join our growing Grandma Has ADHD Facebook community. Please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, and share it with someone who might need to hear they're not alone, because ADHD doesn't have an age limit, and neither does understanding yourself better. Together, we're changing the conversation about ADHD after 50. Come be part of the story. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of Grandma Has ADHD. I am so excited to bring you today's guest, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on how I met her and let you know that I haven't really had any personal conversations with her. She is one of the guests that I am interviewing completely authentically. You're going to get to meet her just like I do. But I did get to hear her speak. She was one of the keynote speakers at the Certified Senior Advisor Conference. And when I heard her speak, I knew that she had to come and be on the podcast. So I'm going to read her bio, and then we're going to get into the conversation. So Joyce Foistel, did I get that right? Yay, I got the 2 thumbs up. Went full-time with her Boomers social media tutor business in March of 2013. After she retired from a 17-year career in sales. She provides consulting, tutoring, and group team training to help business owners and job seekers, especially those age 55 and over, to use LinkedIn more effectively and productively. In 2024, she expanded her services to include a monthly workshop, Enhance Your LinkedIn Profile, through which up to 4 participants get feedback from Joyce and other participants on selections of their LinkedIn profile. Joyce is originally from Wisconsin and has degrees in education and business from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. She and her family moved to the Denver area in 1995. She is active in several business networking organizations and is a leader and active member in 3 Toastmasters clubs, an organization that helps its members improve their communication and leadership skills. And I don't have your age here, but I know that you were in your late 60s or early 70s. Is that right, Joyce?
I'm actually 76.
Okay, well, even better. And you look, like I said, younger. Well, I didn't say that. I thought you were younger.
A little bit of makeup, good skincare.
Nice. Nice. I have another theory that we're going to get into as we get through this
Okay.
podcast. But I love that you are really bridging that gap between technology and older adults, because as I have definitely experienced that we who are the silent generation, the boomers, and even Gen Xers, we are digital tourists or technological tourists in a native landscape for our children and grandchildren. As Joyce, if you're listening and you're not watching us on YouTube, Joyce's eyes just nodded and she got bigger. Yes, yes, yes. So I would love to hear your story about how you came to this, because I love it. And you know more about LinkedIn than I do, and I'm 55. So I'm in your demographic. Okay, go on.
Well, it was 2006 when I got my LinkedIn an invite to connect with somebody on LinkedIn. It was somebody in a Toastmasters club, and I regarded her highly. I thought, if she's on LinkedIn, I guess I should be. I didn't do any research. I just accepted it. And when you do that and you have no profile, then you have to create a short profile. So the basic skeletal one. I went on my merry way, doing absolutely nothing with LinkedIn, didn't give it a second thought. And then 2 years later, a different Toastmaster invited me to be on Facebook. So I get into Facebook and I'm like, holy cow, I know a lot of these people here. And I really lit up, because the idea of being in touch with relatives and friends from all over the world intrigued me. And it was like, wow, now I can be up to date on the lives of my nieces and nephews and don't have to wait for the Christmas cards.
Mm.
Seriously. And this is back in the day when that age group 20 something actually was on Facebook.
Right, exactly.
So I got into that. And then I thought, I'm going to revisit LinkedIn. Maybe there's something going on here. So I should know about it. So I got there for it. Oh, I know. Then I heard about this Toastmasters International LinkedIn group. So somehow I got into that. And that's really was the tipping point for me to get more involved with LinkedIn. Because there, I'm not only engaging with my people that I know, but I'm helping people I don't even know to answer questions about Toastmasters. As you
Mm-hmm.
can see, Toastmasters is a huge, I would call, avocation of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So time went on, another maybe a little over a year. And at work, it was 2010, and they were rolling out social media. I think, take yourself back 15 years. It was LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and we in the enrollment department at this for-profit college serving financial planning people. At any rate, we were told we needed to talk up the social media. And we weren't too excited about it until our manager told us we'd get $5 every time someone would follow us on Twitter or like our Facebook page. So he did incentivize it a little bit. But I would have talked about it anyway because it turns out I really like talking about social media. It was the first opportunity I had to be sort of a person who said, let's go, think about it. This will be great. You should join our LinkedIn group. If you're in mood of, being in financial planning, you'll meet other financial planners. So I was so enthusiastic. I was proselytizing practically like religion, And my manager was so struck with how well I did, the best every month of that $5 incentive heap. He said to me, and I was 61 doing the math here with me. He said, Joyce, since you're so darn good at getting our students at the college engaged with our social media, have you ever thought of helping other people and your baby boomer generation, especially, to understand social media like you do? I really kind of inched my way in. I mean, it wasn't like I was intentional thinking, boy, now I'm going to learn Facebook. Now I'm going to learn LinkedIn, kind of by osmosis. And when he made that suggestion to me and I started to take him seriously, then I shelved the book that I bought and I got onto I got different blog posts I would follow. So many people I would track with just to learn more about social media. And I did work 3 more years in that essentially sales job until I was ready to go full time into the business. So that was from age 61 to age 64.
I love it.
That's how it really happened by the invitation I got from people to kind of work my way into these platforms.
So what you're telling me is that you left a career, a solid foundation, and went out on your own at the age of 64.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I love that. So, Joyce, this is going to be an interesting interview, and I did ask her permission before we went down this aisle. And Joyce did not hear me speak at the CSA conference. I presented the topic of ADHD to a lot of the certified senior advisors. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be using jargon, but it's very, very common for me after I've done a presentation for people to come up to me and say, I had no idea, but I think I have ADHD based on what you just shared with me. And as I share, in this podcast and everywhere I speak, roughly 75 to 80% of people who have ADHD do not realize that they have it. Yes. And so when I saw Joyce's bio and met her and saw her energy, I, of course, went into, I think Joyce might have ADHD. And by the way, I'm not a doctor, Joyce. The way that you've learned about social media is how I've gone down the rabbit hole with ADHD. And so if I can ask you, because you don't really know a lot about it, if I can ask you some questions and explore it, I could be wrong, but at least, you'll know a little bit more about ADHD when it's all said and done.
Follow the viewers.
Absolutely. So are you aware that I'm sure you know what ADHD is, or do you?
Broadly speaking, yes.
Broadly. Okay. So ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And we have a lot of people saying I don't have ADHD. I'm not hyperactive. And they may say I have ADD, which used to be what they would classify somebody who wasn't hyperactive with, attention deficit disorder. The word disorder is a horrible name, and a lot of people in our space want it gone because it doesn't accurately reflect our experience. But what I will tell you is that ADHD is now, you can have the hyperactive type, which is that little boy I'm sure you can remember back in school, the little boy who couldn't sit still with ants in his pants and he was disruptive in the classroom. Right, Joyce?
My brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. ADHD is highly heritable. It runs in families.
Mhm.
And what I have noticed, and you tell me if this resonates with you, people with ADHD, if we are interested in something, we tend to hyperfixate on it so that everything else goes away. And that is the only thing we can focus on. And I saw Joyce's eyes just light up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens not all the time, but yeah, if I'm interested, I'll go down that rabbit hole. Like you
Right.
said.
And
Yeah.
what if you're not interested in something? What if it bores you? Like small talk.
Oh, I like small talk.
You like small talk.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I could small talk to the cows come home. I would say if I'm not interested in it, then I just like turn the page sort of figuratively.
Okay. You don't pay attention to it. So when you were in school, did you notice that you had some subjects that you were just like really, really good at and others where you just like finagled your way through it? Or
Well, I'll have to say I was an A student all the way through high school. So
that doesn't
you're
mean
asking me. I know
no,
that.
that doesn't mean
No,
anything. Actually, I graduated college with high honors and I have ADHD. That's part of the problem.
Okay, that's helpful. It's just the way you asked it.
Yes.
Maybe answer that way. But no, I never really was keen on chemistry or any of the sciences.
Mhm.
But curiously, I liked math.
Right.
I was surprised. I always liked English.
Mhm.
There's probably social studies types of courses.
Do you ever get overwhelmed with big decisions or just decisions? Like you don't like to make a lot of little decisions. It's just like I call it decision fatigue. I don't know. That's one of the characteristics. Struggling with a lot of decisions. For instance, Steve Jobs, I know you know who Steve Jobs was. He had a uniform. He wore the same thing to work every day because he didn't want to have to make a lot of little decisions. Just like my brain wants to go to the high level, it doesn't want to do the mundane.
Well, I really can balance between the two. I mean, as an
Okay.
example, in the Myers-Briggs, familiar with that? You have
course.
your S, and that person is, I have a daughter like that, needs
Mm.
the data. And then N, is that right? Yeah. S and N. N is the more like
Intuitive.
big picture.
Right?
I shade N.
Me
And
too.
I can go S. So
Mhm.
I was working with those financial planners for 17 years. There were some of them that were really detail oriented. They're making
Mhm.
big purchase, not a little, but a big purchase decision in their company is. So I would patiently walk them through answering all their questions. So that's not exactly what you're saying. I feel that those big decisions, to me, I don't just,
Let me ask you this. Do you think well in a crisis situation? Do you rise to an occasion where you can just function really well? And are you very innovative in the solutions that you come up with?
I would say yes.
Okay, that's an ADHD trait. I don't have this, but many people with ADHD struggle with time where they are late for appointments. I know one thing that happens to me is when I'm involved in something and I sit down to do something, then I don't want to do anything else and time goes away from me and I don't sense time. Big nod. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that's why I have to have like time, like alarms on my phone and things like that.
Okay. That's an ADHD trait.
I would say I do run late.
Okay. That
Truly
isn't
this
so we tend to have a very strong sense of social justice. So we feel very strongly that things should be right and fair. And so, for instance, she's shaking her head, yes. In my line of work, I deal with a lot of people who struggle with clutter. And a lot of the reason behind that clutter is that they don't want things to go into the landfill. They want to know that there's going to be a good home for that item that they're discarding. So that's another thing. We tend to have two senses of time. One is now and one is not now. So we put a lot off for later if it's not something that interests us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I'm pretty disciplined. And if something needs to be done and it's important, going back to your original, I make time for it. And
Sure.
quite so black and white.
Do you like
Other people involved?
Oh, sure. I was going to say, for me, I would put something off until I always get it done on time, but I do really well with that last minute timeline. It's like that pressure, that adrenaline that I get. So, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that's an ADHD trait. The fact that you have a brother that has it and you have, so the other thing that I've discovered is a lot of people with ADHD, you can see two camps. You can see the person who dropped out of high school because they were not interested, they were not stimulated enough, or you see the overachiever, someone like I'm this person where I don't do well sitting still. I have to be working on the next thing. If you give me a day where I've got nothing planned, I go crazy. I don't know what to do with she's shaking her head.
Yeah.
So when I saw your bio and I saw you speak, and again, you do have an energy level, and I find that a lot of people with ADHD have this magnetism. And then, of course, when you said your brother had ADHD, and again, it's
For sure. I just know that my brother was the kind of kid who was probably smarter than most of his teachers and just would get bored in high school. And
very,
by the
very
grace of God, he graduated.
Yes, that's actually incredibly common. And that's another thing, is that there's this misconception that we're not bright. Well, actually, there's something called twice exceptional, which is a child that's in the gifted program. I think it's like 50% of the kids in the gifted program have ADHD. Do not quote me on that, but it's a much higher percentage of people who have it than are neurotypical.
Interesting.
Yes. And so we tend to be the achievers and creative, and also you're an innovator. You saw something that was missing and you filled in the gap. And that's what I've done with ADHD. I have, filled in the gaps. So how my backstory is that my child was reading starting at the age of 3 and came to me at one point in middle school and said, "Mom, I want to be tested for ADHD." And I said, "You don't have ADHD. You've been reading since you were 3." Because for me, I wasn't interested in learning to read, so I didn't read till second grade. So in my mind, how could you, and Will, my child, could sit and read books for hours as a child. And then it got to the point that Will couldn't read and couldn't concentrate on a book and would read the same page over and over again. So sure enough, I take Will to the psychiatrist. He is asking a lot of questions, and I was in the room answering the questions that Will was not able to answer on their behalf. And I said, "I'm answering more yeses for me than for them. Do I have ADHD?" And he said, "Uh-huh." And I did not realize at the time that ADHD is highly heritable. I also thought, like you did, that ADHD was the little boy, because I have a half brother who was on Ritalin back in the 80s. And then honestly, it took me another 8 years because I didn't really pay much attention to it myself, because I didn't understand the impact that it really had in my life. And when I started to learn more about it, and then I became an ADHD coach, I realized that my mom, at 76, I realized that my mom had ADHD, and she had never been diagnosed by her psychiatrist or her therapist. She's been treated for anxiety and depression majority of her life. A lot of people are being treated for anxiety because anxiety is very, very common in ADHD. And I think it's because we have these brains that are just constantly going and on, and we come up with scenarios and we catastrophize. And I'm seeing Joyce's head nod.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to
So-
yeah.
Yes. And yeah, it's very hard to shut the brain. I mean, it's like a popcorn disco ball just constantly going. I'll have conversations with people. We'll talk about their childhood, and I'll say, "Did you doodle when you were in school?" People will come, "I'm still doodling," So, all right. Well, I can't diagnose you. I want to make that clear to everybody. But you know what?
Fascinating.
There is a quiz on the Grandma Has ADHD website. Again, it's for
Okay.
educational and entertainment purposes, but it is not meant to diagnose.
Right.
But again, 5 to 10% of the population is impacted by ADHD, and 80% of us don't even realize it. So, yeah. So I'm going to leave.
I have a question, if I may ask you. Just
Sure.
It's in keeping with where we are right now.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's 80.
Yep.
And she thinks she has ADHD. She's brought it up to a doctor, and they say, "Get this. No, you're too old to have ADHD."
So,
Something like that. So she's not much of a challenger of authority, but I wonder if you've heard that, and if there's anything I could.
I am so glad that you brought that up. My mother's doctor said exactly the same thing. She said they don't treat it and it doesn't matter. And I will tell you that my relationship with my mother, and more importantly, my mother's relationship with my mother, has significantly changed since knowing that she has ADHD. Because there are so many pieces that never made sense. Like for my mom, who is really, really bright, she never finished college. And I remember when she was in her 40s and she was miserable at her company and they offered tuition reimbursement. And I said, Mom, this is your chance. Go back to school. And my mom said, I can't focus. Ding, ding, ding. That was an ADHD and it was never picked up on. And I actually just returned. I was the keynote speaker at the Aging Life Care Managers Conference for Western Region. And they had a physician go up and speak about anxiety in seniors and all of the different reasons that seniors might have anxiety. And ADHD was left off the list. And I went up to her after the conference and I said, I didn't want to embarrass you in front of everybody, but you left ADHD off this list. And she said, you know what? You're right. I learned about ADHD in college and it didn't even occur to me. It's just like, no, they used to think that ADHD was only the little boy, that he would outgrow it. Well, it turns out that he doesn't outgrow it. It morphs as he ages. And as we're in different life stages, behaviors change. And a lot of people go from being hyperactive in the body to the brain that's constantly talking and interrupting. So yes, your friend is what she heard from a doctor. She needs to find a doctor who understands ADHD. In fact, only 1 in 5 memory care clinics are even routinely asking about ADHD. And yet, when you look at the early symptoms of dementia or Alzheimer's, they're in line with symptoms of ADHD, like forgetting words, misplacing items. I forget words and people's names. That common occurrence for me on a regular basis. Yep. So we're going to pause for a minute and then we're going to come back and continue this conversation. Hey there, Grandma Has ADHD listeners. I'm your host, Jami Shapiro, and do I have some exciting news? My book, This Explains So Much, Understanding Undiagnosed ADHD, is now available on Amazon. My mom, Vicki, and I wrote this together. She's the original grandma who inspired this whole journey. I'm calling this the perfect is the enemy of done version, because if I waited until it was perfect, you'd never be holding it in your hands. This book is for us. Those of us who've spent our whole lives feeling like we were too much or never quite enough. Inside, you'll find why you've always felt different, ADHD traits you didn't even know were ADHD traits, how to declutter without the shame spiral, and so much more about thriving with ADHD after 50. Here is the exciting part. Everyone who purchases the book gets free access to a virtual book club that my mom and I are hosting. We're going to share stories, laugh about our ADHD moments, and create that safe space where you can finally take off that girdle. When you read the book, you'll know what I mean, and just be yourself. Here's what to do. Head to Amazon, search This Explains So Much, Jami Shapiro, grab your copy, paperback or ebook, and visit grandmahasadhd.com to take the ADHD quiz and get your book club registration link. Understanding your ADHD isn't adding to your plate. It's finally understanding why your plate has always felt so full. I cannot wait to see you at the book club and hear your stories. And if the book resonates, please leave an Amazon review, as well as for this podcast, to help other women find their light bulb moments. Thank you for being part of this community. This book exists because of all of you. Ever wondered why helping a loved one declutter feels like speaking different languages? I did, especially with my mom. It wasn't until I founded Silver Linings Transitions, helping San Diego seniors organize and move for over a decade, that I discovered why. We all experience clutter differently, and for those of us with ADHD, it's a whole other world. If you are listening in the San Diego area and feeling stuck with moving, paperwork, photos, or home organization, our team at Silver Linings Transitions gets it. We understand ADHD's unique challenges, and we won't just help you get organized, we'll create sustainable systems that finally stick. Schedule a consultation with our team today at 760-522-1624. That's 760-522-1624, or find us at silverliningstransitions.com. We are back with Joyce Feustel, and I think Joyce might have to get off of this podcast and look into the possibility that she may be one of those of us who have undiagnosed ADHD. So I appreciate you being such a good sport. One of the things that I'm really trying to do is destigmatize ADHD, and I think the more people understand it, and even some of the myths that you've thought about it, you can't have good grades or that it doesn't exist in seniors. All of it is not true. So thanks for being such a great sport. And as I say, when I ask somebody if they have ADHD, it is the highest compliment I can give you, because it means I think you're really interesting. And there's a lot of people who say that we should not call ADHD a superpower, or that we are creating a toxically positive thing. And I'm going to say, too, that there's a lot of negative that does go with ADHD. I mean, for me, the biggest is I have rejection sensitivity. It can be called rejection sensitive dysphoria. I don't like that word, but I perceive rejection even when rejection isn't there. And an example that I like to give is I get a phone call. I'm a business owner. I get a phone call from a vendor. Hey, Jami, can you give me a call? I need to talk to you. And my immediate go-to is something is wrong. Why are you nodding?
Well, it's so interesting because I just think I'll just say that I've been in a recovery program, I'll call it, without getting too specific, for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, I don't.
Okay, well, that's good. But people with ADHD also tend to have addictions. That's a lot of the reason that and a lot of people were coping with substances, a lot of cigarettes, and it can be an addiction to even exercise. I have a friend who's actually got ADHD, but she is a perfectionist. She's a high-level executive at Mayo Clinic, and she's one of those people that has like very regimented, I have to be exercising at a certain time. So I just think of it as a brain that is on hyperdrive. It's just like, I can't even describe it because it's just my experience, but I just feel like my brain is more than my head can hold. That's kind of what actually, a great analogy that I've heard from Dr. Ned Hallowell, who's one of the innovators in the space now, said that it's like having a Ferrari brain and bicycle brakes. So you have to learn. And for me, here's the perfect example of how I'm working with my brain. So I have learned, I was literally on the airplane going to the CSA conference in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm on the runway and I look at my phone to check my reservation for the hotel, because I have now learned that when I make a reservation, I have to immediately put it into my calendar or I will be trying to find it. I never made the reservation. I never made it. And now I know that if I had made it, I would have put it immediately into my calendar. It's taken me a long time to get to this. I know that my memory is going to fail me. I wear this watch now because I was boiling eggs on the stove and I walked away, went to a client's house. I'm touring his home. I'm looking around because we're going to tell him how much it's going to cost for us to do his move management. And I'm in his kitchen and I literally, I just realized I left boiling eggs on my stove for several hours and my catastrophizing goes in place. First of all, I have to apologize because now I'm concerned that I'm going to burn down my house. And I'm driving home and I'm concerned that either I'm going to get there and I'm going to see the fire trucks. See, I'm losing words. Or the eggs are going to have exploded and hit. So now when I boil eggs, I set the timer on my phone and I don't walk away until I've done it because now I plan to forget. So I just am putting things in place to know that my short-term memory is not good. Someone can give me directions, say, you're going to turn left and then you're going to do this and then you're going to turn right and you're going to do this. I've lost it. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah. So, okay. One of the other reasons that I really wanted to have you on is that people with ADHD, a lot of us, and again, if you meet one person with ADHD, I have to say this, you meet one person with ADHD, but a lot of us don't do well with boredom. And I think that might be one of the reasons that people, as we age, struggle more with ADHD because we don't have that structure in place that we used to have. We don't have people to be bouncing ideas off of. So we're not integrating in people's lives. So I love the idea that you are teaching technology to boomers. And maybe even, are you helping them find jobs?
Oh, yeah. Typically, about 25% of my clients are job seekers. So not all of them are boomers, but proportionally might be a little even higher on the younger than 60. So I
Yeah.
bring Gen X and even millennials. I've had a handful, maybe like the children of a client or somebody I know professionally. I have siblings, two people in their 30s. We help them both.
Nice.
Well,
Well,
use LinkedIn.
I'm going to need to schedule a session clearly with you.
Well,
I would love to do that. But can you tell our listeners who are tuning in a little bit about what you do and how you help? Because, I'd
sure.
love to support your business as well.
Well, yeah, happy to. So whether they're a job seeker or a business owner or any kind of business professional that wants to figure out LinkedIn, I recommend that we have two sessions. We start with the profile and we go through the profile from the top, the banner, through the photo, through the headline, all the way down to the bottom. And almost everything we do can be done in real time that needs changing. And that's one of the reasons a lot of busy entrepreneurs like working with me. Because they don't have this laundry list of what to do afterwards. They get it done right then and there, which I think ADHD people don't really like that, right?
I have to interrupt you on that. Yes, people with ADHD tend to do really well with it's called body doubling, where I'm working alongside somebody else at the same time, that accountability. And if I walk away from something, and because we tend to get super excited about the newest thing, and I can't tell you how many subscriptions I've paid for and then walked away. And so I am so glad that you brought that up because they think that the percentage of entrepreneurs is also very high, which makes sense when you look at the traits of ADHD.
And also in the last year or so, I've really incorporated ChatGPT to this dynamic. Many of my clients have chat or some other AI tool. I happen to use ChatGPT. So what I'll do is especially if there's any resistance, like the other day that happened, I'll say, listen, I've suggested this to you. I'm going to go into my chat and type it in and see what chat thinks. Let's try to give us some ideas. So then I stop him having the screen share and I share my screen with chat gives 5 suggestions based on what I typed in, which was much of what he already had. He goes, well, I think number 4 works. I want to make a couple more changes. I said, fine, we should do that. So see how this was a collaboration with me and him and my chat GPT in real time. And how convenient is that? It's like magic almost. So that's the session, the profile. And LinkedIn is more than the profile though, because a lot of people think, oh, help me with my profile. Fine. But what if it's like you get this dress to this outfit, you look good for the dance, but oopsie, you didn't really learn how to dance. And now we go into the use of LinkedIn in a second session. So here we start thinking about who to connect with. Who do you want to accept their invite? And then conversely, who do you want to find more of those kinds of people by using the search tools within LinkedIn? Then we would talk about, say, sharing content. What about posts? Some of the things I talked about at the conference, articles, even that LinkedIn newsletter. There are different formats in which you can share content and what would be sort of good content for you to share, as well as engaging with the content of other people. And finally, I walk my clients through the very pesky but sort of annoying but necessary project of going through their notifications. Because if you don't get rid of a lot of notifications, I could see this could be very problematic for the ADHD person, distracted, excuse me, by a lot of random stuff they don't need to know. It takes 10 minutes and then we're done. Set and done. They don't have to go back and do it again.
Well, I'm sold.
So that's 2 sessions, and that's for people between, let's see, 25 and 59. That's $165 per hour or $297 for the 2-session package. Now, for those watching who are older, and that could be some here, for older people and job seekers, then my hourly rate drops down to $125 per hour, or the 2-session package drops to $230. So I do have special rates because I was an older job seeker. And well, I was in my 50s, felt older at the time. But at any rate, yeah, so I have those rates. So that's, and we were talking before, you asked about 3 things people should do. I want to stress this. Every week, at a minimum, but at least every week, go and see who wants to connect with you. That could be a potential client or hiring authority or a really solid business colleague, referral partner in there somewhere. Just do them and dump the rest. Just ignore them, even block them if they're really creepy. And then also to go through your messages. Sometimes people will curiously message you through LinkedIn. Why couldn't they have just sent an email? I thought when I was first on LinkedIn, but some people like to communicate that way. I did a whole podcast on Friday. The whole communication was set up through LinkedIn messages. Not a single email was exchanged.
Wow.
Yeah, very wild. And then this third one would be to look at those notifications. This would be once they're cleaned up and there's something important in there. Like say you put up a post, you want to know if somebody commented on a post, right? You want to thank them. That's just a little courtesy. So those are 3 things I'd say from a kind of etiquette standpoint.
Well, I'm failing miserably. Miserably. So I'm launching my book, which by the time this podcast comes out, the book will be out. It's called This Explains So Much: Understanding Undiagnosed ADHD for people who feel too much, have too much, or have been told they are too much.
It's a mouthful, but it's a great title.
It is, but there's so much I wanted to say in that. And then after that, I'm actually going to be getting ready in the first of the year. I'm going to be doing an online right sizing, downsizing course with understanding ADHD, because there are a lot of people who've been trying to go through the process of decluttering and downsizing or right sizing. Actually, right sizing is the correct term. Downsizing has a negative connotation, but people don't know it. So I'm in the process of taking these presentations that I've been giving for years in person and turning it into a digital course. And I'm going to need to promote that. Yes. So I need to finish this course. I'm learning I can't sign up for too many things at one time because then nothing gets finished. But you can put me on your calendar because when my other course is over, I want you to do this with me. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Right. Well, that'll be so much fun to stay in touch.
Yes. And share again. I love it's Boomers Social Media. I forgot. What's the name of your company?
Boomers Social Media Tutor.
Boomers with an S?
Boomers like more than one.
Boomersocialmediatutor.com.
Yep.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, again, I can't diagnose you with ADHD, but you ring pretty much accurate and in line. I love the name. It's so creative, the name of your website and the innovation of helping boomers. And you're showing them that, and just like I do, it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to make the most of your life. And you tell your friend, actually, here's a story I want to share. I had Alan P. Brown on my podcast. He started a program called ADD Crusher. So he started it well before we diagnosed everybody with ADHD. They changed it in the DSM, probably TMI. But he said he had an 87-year-old client who came to him. He said that he wasn't diagnosed until 80, and it was the best 7 years of his life.
Really?
Because you finally have an understanding of why. It's like when I meet someone with ADHD and I ask them questions, they're like, how did you know that about me? Just like how you were just talking about how you walk your ADHD clients through it so that they're going to accomplish it. Because you're right. If you gave me homework, because it's not now, it wouldn't get done.
Yeah.
So you're already understanding how our brains work. And for my mom to understand that she was never lazy, she was never stupid, her brain didn't allow her to focus on anything that wasn't important to her. And now we need to come up with ways to make that a priority. For me, again, I would have been beating myself up for not making that hotel reservation. Actually, it's been far worse when I've made a reservation and forgot to cancel it and then had to pay it. So there's something called an ADHD tax. It's when we sign up for a subscription that we don't use, or we have a late fee, or we break something because we are just going so quickly that we're being careless. We misplace lots of things. We have to go out and buy something new because we can't find it.
Yeah, so pesky.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, I hope that you learned something that you'll share with your audience.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to do some more research.
I'm going to send you the
Oh,
quiz.
yeah, definitely. And
I'm
I'll
going to send you
get
the
back
quiz.
to you in a month or so or whatever is good. You'll just, no.
Well, you may need to
Yeah.
buy the book.
You I'm like, what?
Yeah. Anyway, it was so wonderful to meet you and to have you on the podcast. And again, if you want to work with Joyce, it is boomerssocialmediatutor.com. And I am so appreciative to Joyce Foistel, who is really showing us at the age of 76 that life keeps going, and so can you. Thanks so much. Yay. Bye. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.